Right, so we've looked at some of the calculations, the sort of nitty-gritty of the actuarial world, and now we're going to go and look slightly more, move across into the slightly more practical things. So we have our policy journey where we really generate the ideas of all the things we need to think about over the lifetime of a life insurance policy. And we're really going to concentrate here now on the pure premium calculation, which is just applying the maths we've done over here, so it's not terribly difficult. And then we'll get on to prospective reserve and retrospective reserve, which are again just further applications of the maths we've done over here. So no real new maths, it's just used a bit of common sense to apply it to a practical situation. So the pure premium is very simply the amount of premium you would have to charge to be completely cost neutral in term between the premiums and the benefits paid out. It's called a pure premium because it ignores the practicalities like expenses and profit. Okay. So pure premium, we only consider benefits. Okay, we ignore expenses, which are easy to factor in, but we ignore them. That's a definition of pure premium. And profit. So easiest way to look at this is by an example. Okay, so let's suppose we have a 20-year term assurance sold to a 35-year-old man with a sum assured of £200,000 at the let's say immediately on death, and the premiums are level and payable at start of the month. Okay, so I've just made that question up. It's a fairly standard actuarial calculation, and all we're going to do is say the total value of the benefits is equal to the total value of the premium. So the benefits is the money that is paid from the insurance company to the policyholder, and the premiums are the money that is paid from the policyholder to the insurance company. So let's move that up and we can start doing the calculation. So very, very simply, what we're going to do initially is say the P is the premiums, the unknown premium. Now there's all sorts of notation for this, but frankly you don't really need it because you just get on with whatever whatever you need to do in the particular circumstance. So the premium times by the annuity, because we're going to be paying these premiums every month, okay, must be equal to 200,000, because that's the sum assured, times the actuarial present value of £1 assurance. Okay, so that is the value. The A there is the value of the annuity. The A there, the capital A, is the value of the assurance. So we just need to fill in the details slightly more with this. So it's a 20-year term. So this due to an age 35-year-old for a term of 20 years, because we assume that the benefits, the premiums, are payable until death or 20 years, whichever is the first. So we are assuming here that that you would not have premiums payable beyond the term of the policy, which is always how it would work. Otherwise, why would you carry on paying the premiums if the policy's expired? So it might specify that the premiums are only payable for 10 years for a 20-year term policy, for example. But if it doesn't specify that, then you just assume the premiums are payable for the same as the term of the policy. They are payable in advance, so it's an annuity due, and they're payable monthly. Okay. The life assurance is payable immediately on death. Okay. And it's again to a 35-year-old with a term of 20 years. Okay, so this is just going to put together a few of the things we've done so far. Okay. So we have in our tables, all we've got is a double dot 35. Okay, we do also have a double dot 55. Okay, and using that information and that information, we've got to get that. Okay, so let's just apply what we know. So a double dot 35 20, let's ignore the 12 for the time being, is, and you remember how to do this, you take the whole of life annuity from age 35 and take off the whole of life from 55. So whole of life from 35, take away whole of life from 55, but that 55 is 20 years in the future, so I'm going to discount that by 20 years of interest rates and the 20 years of survival probability. Okay. Then, so that's giving me a double dot 35 20, then a double dot 35 20. 12thly, remember I take off the m minus 1 over 2m off the whole of the whole life annuity. So it's a double dot 35 minus m minus 1 over 2m, okay, minus v to the 20 times 20p35 times a double dot 55 minus 11 over 24. Okay, let's say our question assumed interest rates equals 4%. Okay, so now I can just look up each of these values. So I can look up A35, I can look up A55, obviously I can calculate that, I can calculate that, I can calculate that, because it's just 1 over 1.04 to the power of 20, and this is L55 over L35. Okay, which I can look up. So that gives me, so I've now got this part of the equation. I've now done that. Okay, so I now need to do that, and I do it by exactly the same sort of breaking it down. So I can look up A35, I can look up A20. So A35 20 is equal to A35 minus assurance at age 55. The discounting is exactly the same. Okay. And then I need to accelerate that forward. Whoops. So that is going to give me end of year of death. But on average, I'm going to be receiving this payment 6 months earlier than the end of the year of death. So I need to just accelerate that forward by 6 months by doing 1 plus I, which is 4% in this case, to the power of a half. Okay, so I've now calculated that as well, and P obviously then is just very simple calculation. Of one divided by the other. So P, my premium, is equal to 200,000 times this value divided by this value. Okay, so that is how we do it. Now that will give you, and it's always worth doing a sort of common sense, that will actually give you the annualized premium. Okay, so the actual, and you can just check the numbers to see it work. You could, because what you're actually doing with this calculation, okay, is working out the effect of deferring that £1 a year by paying it in 12 installments of 1/12. Okay, so that gives you the value of £1 a year payable for 20 years if it's payable in installments of 1/12. It doesn't give you the value of £1 paid every month. Okay, so it's important, because you'll be out by a factor of 12 otherwise, to realize this is the annualized premium. You've got, so actual monthly premium, and I would just write this out by hand, is equal to P over 12, whatever 12 is. Okay, so it's clear you're not going to get a factor of 12 out. Okay, if you're paying golf club subscription of £1,200 a year and you decide to pay monthly, you pay £100 a month. You don't pay £1,200 a month. Okay, so it's the same principle, but you will be out by a factor of 12. I mean, you could do this calculation without the 12 there and see how much difference it makes. It doesn't make a lot of difference, okay, which underlines the fact this is, okay, an annualized premium. So it's very important to sort of do that adjustment at the end, and that's how we do it. You know, the same principle applies to every other type of benefit, every other type of life insurance policy. That is the pure office, that is the pure premium for a life insurance policy.